All right, so we got our two elements of the state set up for this particular thing. And again, if we wanted to do a separate one, this one's going to keep track of amount of cap. Then we could have a update cap. And a lot of times what we'll see actually is things like, there's a count and we're going to set the count. So it might be something like amount of cap and then set cap. So we use that kind of terminology, and then that's equal to set state, or useState, and then we'll put in that default value of whatever we want it to start at when we first get to the page. And so maybe the amount of cap is a 20 or whatever. So we can set multiple of these in one element, in this case the go button on the screen, if we want to. All right, so we've got this set up. How do I update it? So this is declared but never used. And so what I can do is in the button, now again, I'm just kind of going to I'm doing it and then I'm explaining it afterward. So I can say on click of this button, so on the click, I want the on click to be equal to, and then in curly braces, I can go put in a function and say what I want it to do is go call the update level that we've created and pass to it whatever was already in the level of go, and then each time I'm just going to double, so we'll say ×2. Okay, so we're going to take whatever the amount was, double it, and then that's what's going to happen when I click that button. Okay, let's try this out, see if it works. Control S, and then I start clicking it. Well, the problem is we start out with 0, so doubling it's not going to do a whole lot of good. Let's start out with 1 instead and save that. Okay, so our initial state is 1, and then as we click on it, the amount of grow is increasing dramatically as the kids are screaming and running around and tired and whatnot, and I'm just chatting away. All right, so it goes very, very big, very, very quickly. So, by the way, 2 to the 8th power, 65,536. That's a very common thing in the world of architecture and bits and binary. Anyway, so notice that it's changing each time that amount of go. All right, so if I, what do I want to do? Do I want to explain this? Let me think about this for a second. So let's talk through this line. So we have here on the on-click function of the button, which we're used to, we're putting in a function here. Now, could we put this somewhere else? And I think that's maybe what you're thinking if you're like me as I was learning this stuff. Couldn't I just declare a variable up here somewhere and then create a little function and then call that function on the click? And the answer is yes. React is just trying to make it easy for you, simplified for you, to not have to build a separate function. We don't really care what the name of the function is. I suppose if we're having something passed in, we want to have it passed in to this function. But in this case, we don't want to create a separate method up here and then call that method necessarily. It's doing it all in one shot, making our life easier. And so sometimes we will see it formatted differently with a little, so you could, for example, well, let's see, I don't know if I want to go into that. Anyway, we could see it formatted differently. I'd gone through kind of a bigger example in my notes, but I think it's suffice it to say we can do it all in line, we call it, right here in the click. We can put in a function that does whatever it is we want it to do. And you'll remember that this little arrow function is just a shorthand for if we went out and built out a function called whatever, go updater. And then we call the go updater. This is just saving us time. This is just shorthand. All right, so we're increasing that amount of go. So what's the point? So if I refresh this, it goes back to 1 because I've just started the page over. But as I look at, again, if I come in here in my F12, and this is the part that is really cool, is that, oh, I guess I need some other elements on the page. Well, I do have some. So, no, I don't. I just have the go button. Let's see. Let's create a few other functions. So a function called, again, we'll just kind of do a welcome to site function, drop that on, and we'll just return here an h1 tag that says this site calculates the amount of go when I am the amount of go my wife has when I'm dawdling. Isn't dawdling a great word? Dawdling, if I knew how to spell it. All right, so let's save that. And then we got to get it on our screen somewhere, and this is what I was trying to do. So let's put in our little welcome. Save that. Welcome is not defined. Oh, welcome to site. Haha. Site. Never stray from the notes. All right, this site calculates the amount of go my wife has when I'm dawdling. All right, so we've got different elements on the site, and if we go in and look at the elements of the site, I've got this tag, the header, I've got different things happening, the body, here's our root. This is showing me what's actually being built. So it's got the H1 tag, it's got my go button, whatever. So watch when I click on this go button, the only thing that changes, the only thing that gets updated is this label. And it's just that number on the label. All the rest of the elements of this site stay static. And so it's being updated, but the only thing that's changing is this one little number in this case. The rest of the site doesn't get updated because it's comparing the actual DOM on the screen versus the virtual DOM it's creating in memory. And it's saying the only thing that's changing is this one little element, and so that's the only thing that we need to change. And that's part of what makes React so fast. All right, so let's close that for a minute. And then I'm just going to show you that we could also, if we wanted to, instead of doing this in line, we could build a function. Say we're using it in multiple places or whatever. I could say const and then go take this function that I've built and call it, so let's say this, I'll call it, increment go. I can set that equal to this stuff that is currently inside the curly braces. So I can take that out and put that up here instead. And there is method to my madness on why we're doing this. And then instead of calling it putting all this code in there directly, I can just say increment go. All right, so I save that, and this should work exactly the same. So I'll keep incrementing, and my wife's go level is getting very, very large. I've had this happen many times. So, but if I refresh the site, we'll go back to 1, and then this is all still working the same, but now I've put it into a function that I can call multiple times if I want to, if I needed to, in this particular element of my React site. I think we're probably good there. So I've separated these out, and there's going to be a reason that I'm doing that. So we have these two different elements. One is this state that I'm setting up with this variable. We call it the, let's see here. This is the state variable, and this is the state setter function. So this is what we're calling to go in and update that amount of go in this case. All right. So next, we will go in and look at what if these are two separate elements and how do we make them work together. So that'll be what you can look forward to in the next video. Spencer out.